Y'all know what the time it is. Genesis chapter 30. Let's go. Then Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children. She envied her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I'll just die." And Jacob became very angry with Rachel and said, "Am I in God's stead? Who has denied you children?" And he said, she said, "Take my maid and have intercourse with her, that I by her may also have children." And she gave him Bilhah, her maid, as a secondary wife. And Bilhah became pregnant and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, "God has vindicted me." So she named him Dan, which means judge. Then Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, "With mighty wrestling and prayer to God, I have struggled with my sister." So she named him, this second son, Nephtali. I'm messing that up, but it means struggled. When Leah saw that she had ceased to bear, she gave Zilpah, her maid, to Jacob as a secondary wife, and Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "Victory and good fortune have come," and she named him Gad, which means fortune. Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Jacob her second son, and Leah said, "I am happy." And she named him Asher, which means happy. Now Reuben went and found some mandrakes, love apples, and brought them to his mother, Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Give me, I pray you, some of your son's mandrakes." But Leah answered, "Is it not enough that you have taken my husband?" And Rachel said, "Jacob shall sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must sleep with me tonight, for I have certainly paid for your hire with my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. And God heeded Leah's prayer, and she conceived and bore Jacob's fifth son. Leah said, "God has given me my hire." And she called his name Issachar, which means hired. And Leah became pregnant again, and she bore Jacob her sixth son. And Leah said, "God has endowed me with a good marriage gift for my husband. Now will he dwell with me and regard me as his wife, because I have bore him 6 sons." And she named him Zebulun, which means dwelling. Then God remembered Rachel and answered her pleading and made it possible for her to have children. For the first time she became pregnant and bore a son, and she said, "God has taken away my disgrace and humiliation." And she called his name Joseph, and said, which means may he add, and said, "May the Lord add to me another son." When Rachel had bore Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away that I may go on my own place and country. Go to my own place and country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you." And Laban said to him, "If I found favor in your sight, I pray you, do not go. For I have learned by experience and from the omens in divination that the Lord has favored me with blessing on your account." He said, "State your salary, and I will give it. You had little before I came, and the Lord has favored you. But now, when shall I provide for my own house also?" Laban said, "What shall I give you?" And Jacob said, "You shall not give me anything. Do this one thing for me, and I will again take care of your flock. Let me pass through all your flock, removing from it every spotted animal and every black one among the sheep, and such shall be my wages. So later, when the matter of my wages is brought before you, my fair dealing will be evident. Everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the sheep, if found with me, shall be counted as stolen. And Laban said, Good, let it be done as you say. But the same day Laban removed the he-goats that were streaked, spot, and every black lamb, and put them in charge of his son. And he set a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob. Jacob was then left in the care of the rest of Laban's flock. But Jacob took fresh rods, plane trees, and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white in the rod. Then he set the rods in front of the flocks. The flocks bred and conceived in sight of the rods and brought forth lambs and kids streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob separated the lambs, and as he had done with the peeled rods, put his own droves by themselves and did not let them breed with Laban's stock. Whenever the stronger animals were breeding, Jacob laid the rods in the water before the eyes of the flock, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the sheep were feeble, he omitted putting the rods there. So the feebler animals were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. Thus the man increased and became exceedingly rich, and had many sheep and goats. End of chapter 30. Rachel decides, you know what? I will give my maid to my husband. We've seen where Sarah gave her maid to her husband. So now that we have two, every time we see two things in the Bible, that's a confirmation. When it comes to marriage, which we just talked about, plural and things like that. But the way that we just see now is the first wife finding or bringing in a second wife. But that second wife isn't just her friend. It's the type that she brought in energy-wise was someone that was already she already had authority. Like she had a position of power in regards to the other woman already. So if this doesn't exist, my guy, then you would have to create the situation. You create a scenario in which other women can then function under your wife's power or authority. That's the pattern that we see in the scripture. Between Jacob and Laban, now he got all these kids and all this stuff. Now, for those that are studying metaphysics and understand the concepts behind manifestation, real good to create the image of that which you are asking of the Lord for. You're going to be able to prove that this is outside of Laban, that God's favor is really on Jacob. And so it's funny because this was remember the blessing that his father put on him right before he passed, Isaac. He's went here, now he has like 4 wives, right? Bunch of sons. And he put little chips in the rod that reflected the concept of speckled. Put that in placement, the visual image and placement of the animals while breeding. He was able to infuse that intention from the image into the breeding sheep, causing a manifestation. And so that's to tell us that, hey, we can turn around and do just the same to manifest, meaning like we need something done. It needs to happen outside of you. It would behoove you to get an image, whether it's a piece of paper, whether it's a picture, whether it's a presentation, an image that you put in front of those that you wish to influence. Put it in front of them during a crucial time. It said they were mating. That's a high crucial time. If you can find a high crucial time or create it, then you will have the manifestation power that the Bible just spoke of when you saw Jacob do it and become rich.